She say, do you love me? I tell her only partly. I only love my bed and my mom. I'm sorry. 50 dub, I even got it tatted on me.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the BNC Retrievers Training Podcast. It's your host, Jonathan. Thanking you guys for tuning in tonight or in the morning, whenever you listen to it. I kind of debated on whether to do a podcast because last week I was with my buddy Cam and he helped me get a podcast up on iTunes and Google Play for review. And I kind of wanted to wait and see how that went. It usually takes a few days. But, this is kind of a day that I had stuff planned for today to put out, and I don't really have time to wait on Apple or Google. So here we go. You should be tuning in either on the Spreaker app or on YouTube, whichever one. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Let's jump into it. It's July 1st here in the Western Hemisphere. If you're listening abroad, I'm not sure what day it is, but in the United States, it's July 1st. We're 3 days away from our Independence Day. Go America. But the purpose of this podcast is that we're 60 days away from our early waterfowl seasons. I don't really know any states in the U.S. that start early waterfowl seasons in August, so I think for the majority of us it's September. And in Tennessee, where we're at, September 1st kicks off early goose season, resident goose season, and followed by the next week we're into wood duck and teal season. And that goes until, I think there's a few other early goose seasons in October, but then we're in November, we're starting our duck season. But September 1st, we're 60 days away. And what I wanted to get this podcast out for is because, a lot of people will get dogs right after the main duck season. So your dogs are coming into about 6-7 years of age at this time. And people are always like, is it too early to take my dog hunting? And, if they get on Facebook and the message boards, it's like that, there's always that one guy or gal that's took their dog at 4 months old and they picked up 100 geese on an outfitted hunt. Well, we're not all like that. If you did that, my hat's off to you. But if your dog at 4 months did not pick up 100 geese, don't worry, you're in the majority and it's perfectly normal. So, your dog, if it's around 6 to, 9, 10 months up to a year, you're in that kind of phase where your dog should be ready to get out there and start picking up birds. But you need to make sure you have some things down pat first, you and your dog, and that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. So let's jump right into it. First thing is, your dog should have a solid obedience foundation. Now, that does not mean you can take your dog out in your front yard, tell them to sit, stay, here, heel, and they do it perfect. That is the bare minimum. That's not even the minimum. Your dog needs to be able to handle obedience commands and listen 100% or as close to 100% as a dog's going to get in the field and in hunting scenarios. So, if you ever watch a new dog going out to its first hunt or into the woods, in the marsh or whatever, the first hunt, this is why socialization is important, because dogs go crazy, it seems like, when they get out into the field. They start smelling stuff, they start seeing stuff, they start feeling stuff that they don't really feel if you've kept your dog at the house for. That's why trainers will always say, socialize, socialize, socialize. Get them out in these hunting environments, that way it's not new. And that'll help you when you're starting your obedience. So, going back to it, your dog needs to be 100% obedience trained in hunting scenarios. In the blind, in the pit, in the marsh, wherever you hunt, your dog needs to be 100% at listening. Sit, stay, hear, and heel. Also, your dog needs to be comfortable around gunfire. Obviously, we're hunting, and we're not shooting these ducks with bows. We're shooting them with shotguns, loud shotguns. So you can get on YouTube, you can DM us. The gist of it is, there's 100 ways that you can introduce your dog to gunfire. There's some right ways, there's some wrong ways. Do it the right way. DM us, look on YouTube. There's plenty of videos out there from reputable trainers that'll show you how to introduce your dog to gunfire. The gist of it is, start throwing some retrieves to your dog. You got a buddy maybe 50 to 100 yards away that starts shooting his gun, and you just bring him in closer and closer and let your dog know that it's okay, it's all good, we're having fun. The gun is just part of the environment. That's the gist of it. Again, there's plenty of good material out there that tells you how to do it. So your dog needs to be comfortable around gunfire. Third thing that needs to be happening is your dog needs to have some type of what I call fetched fetch program down pat. Now listen, there's 100 different ways to skin a cat, as Freddie King would say. But there's some people that are force fetch. There's some people that do like a low pressure fetch. Whichever way you choose, there's no right or wrong way. Your dog needs to be 100%. There's no if and buts about it. There's no 90 or 75%. Your dog needs to be 100% able and willing and capable of going out there, grabbing a duck, whether it's alive or dead, getting a good hold on it, and bringing it back to you and giving it to you in your hand. Not dropping it at the bank, not sitting out there in the marsh playing with it, but getting a good hold on it, keeping that hold on it, and then bringing it to you at the hand. Now, whether you use force fetch, e-collar, toe hitch, ear pinch, or you do another low pressure type program, either way is fine. Emma's down pat. She's got a good hold on her. Court didn't force fetch her. Tucker's got a good hold on him. I force fetched him. Either way is fine. Just make sure you pick a program and you stick with it. Fourth thing is your dog needs to be able to handle multiple marks and advanced marking. Now, this is where you can have some play with it. I'm going to go ahead and tell you your dog doesn't have to be running blind retrieves right now, but your dog needs to be comfortable with marking birds, preferably multiple, 2 to 3, but if he's just, as long as he's 100% on single marks, it's all good. And this is where you need to be, as the owner, playing into the equation, is that you've got to have your dog positioned during your hunt where he or she can see these birds falling. So you need to socialize yourself to wherever you're going to hunt. Most of us know where we're going to wood duck and teal hunt. We've got our spots already picked out throughout the year. So you need to go out there, figure out where you're going to put your dog, where's the best vantage point for your dog, where you're going to be in relativity to your dog. So get out there, start scouting, and start getting your spots picked out. But your dog needs to have a clear picture. He or she needs to be able to pick out these marks and be 100% on going out and getting them. Marking, you need to be working your dogs marking at least 40, 50 yards, at least. You may be shooting these birds, what you think dead in your face, but no, it's not. These birds can swim off, they can sail off, especially if they're flying away from you. You shoot them, their trajectory sends them another 20, 30 yards. So 50 yards bare minimum, and that kind of gets hard for the human because most of us are by ourselves and we're throwing, dummies and stuff. 30, 40 yards is, at the end of our, limit as humans. So if you got any friends or family or helpers that can help you to throw out some longer marks, get out in the fields and throw longer marks, highly recommended to do that. So let's go down the list real quick. Obedience, introduction and comfortable run gunfire, a hold, force fetch, whatever, a good fetch program down, and then marking. So with this, that's your bare minimum, I say, in bringing your dog to the field. If your dog's not ready, leave your ego and your pride at the door and don't take them. Just save them, keep working on it, and get ready for the upcoming season, main season. It's in November. You guys will be fine. It's not going to hurt. Last season, Tucker was 6-7 months old entering wood duck season, and I left him at home because he just wasn't ready. I didn't think he was mature enough to be out there. He was wild. He would whine a little bit. You don't want that. Also, I encourage you to go out your first few times with your dog. It needs to be either you and him or her and maybe a couple of friends. Don't bring a large hunting group with you because you're going to be it's still going to be a learning process for you and your dog, mainly for your dog. So you want some friends out there that have patience, that understand that it's a new dog out there and it's a learning environment for him or her. With that being said, you got 60 days. Do not rush it. Your dog should if he's 5, 6, 7 months old, your dog should already have a good foundation kind of being built of socialization and obedience. So just build on top of that. Don't rush anything. Simplify and take step backs if you have to. And just see how it goes. If you've got any questions or concerns, please DM us or drop us a comment. We're more than happy to help because we've all been there. We know we didn't have the perfect dogs. We probably have experienced some of the same problems that you may go through or are going through. DM us, shoot us a comment, and we'll help you as much as we can. Again, thanks for tuning in. Be looking for our podcast coming up on iTunes and Google Play, but for right now, we're going to be on YouTube. Thanks to our sponsors, George Wilson with Small Order Game Calls. Goose and duck season's right around the corner. Hit them up. Get you a good quality duck or goose call for the upcoming season. When you're getting up early in the mornings and you're kind of slow and draggy, fill up with a good cup of Seabag Locker or Seaside coffee. It's great coffee. Believe me, I promise you. Use the code RETRIEVE to save you some money. Try it out. I promise you, you'll buy more after you finish your first bag. You get a pound of coffee. Not a lot of coffee companies will give you a full pound of coffee in your bag. Thanks, guys and gals, for tuning in. Let us know what you think. Drop a comment. Shoot us a DM. Thanks for listening.